Cyberpunk, what is going on? Is it playable? Maybe you're not pushing the right buttons. Let's find out. Anyone who has seen the side of a double-decker bus will have seen Cyberpunk 2077 is still a massive thing. But what those signs on the side of the buses don't tell you is the whole thing has gone to the game is virtually unplayable. PC seems to be all right and a bit glitchy. PlayStation, which has notoriously aggressive terms and conditions, has recognized this is a massive PR disaster. So despite the fact that consumers basically don't have a leg to stand on, arguably, although we'll talk a little bit about that shortly, regardless, Sony have decided to refund everybody. Similarly, Xbox refunding everybody. And why is that? Is that because they have legal rights? No, a consumer has very little power legally in a situation like this. On the one hand, they are protected by consumer legislation. In the UK, we have the Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading Regulations. Boom, bit of law. But the reality is that those types of cases don't happen in courts because the amount of effort is more than the amount at stake. However, while one consumer doesn't have a whole load of rights, the court of public opinion becomes the trial of brand loyalty. And Sony and Microsoft will not risk that for some software company based in Warsaw. But there are legal cases, aren't there? There is a criminal complaint for fraud that has been lodged in a Polish court at the time that we are recording this. That is not a civil claim. That is about whether people go to prison. However, there are also civil cases. Wherever they've made statements about the state of the company and wherever that product is sold, they're at risk of domestic legal proceedings under civil law. But we've already said it's hard to bring an action, isn't it, if you're a consumer? Yes, it's hard if you're a consumer. But CDPR is a publicly quoted company on the Warsaw Stock Exchange. There are people who have bought those shares, while big noises about how we're just getting rid of a few glitches here and there are being officially made by CD Projekt. The fact that those statements went out there in most jurisdictions means the assumption must be that investors are relying upon it. And you have a duty to make sure that information is accurate. So, for example, in California, where the first pleadings appear to have been filed by the Rosen law firm in a class action, the emphasis appears to be on recklessness. These cases nearly always settle, but the reality is that if this was any other company that didn't have all of the Witcher catalogue to rely on in terms of its financial muscle, you would be thinking this company is finished. Nobody's going to get anything because the damages claims are so great, the company's capitalization won't be enough to deal with it. It's really quite sad that CDPR appears to be this kind of carcass that people are flocking to, but the lawyers are coming out because they know there is money to be had. Probably the greatest irony of all of this, though, is the principal victims here are who? The die-hard supporters of Cyberpunk. And this is not just some computer game. This is a 40-year-old franchise. And that's the thing, isn't it? There's the artist, the writer, Pondsmith, programmers whose fault it wasn't. And make no mistake, CDPR isn't even one of these companies who flails its staff 100 hours a week in the run-up. They take pride on being more ethical in that way and having humane working hours. But isn't the biggest victim of all of this the person who doesn't really have the biggest legal rights? It's the fans, isn't it? Wasn't this something that a lot of people were looking forward to? A bit of light relief in a terrible year, and it's really been screwed up. I really hope that it gets sorted out and we get something really playable. Guys, if you liked this video, if you want to hear me talk about all types of other stuff, like the stuff, engage with me and just reach out to me to tell me what you think. And guys, if you haven't seen my newest video about COVID lockdown laws, check it out. This was the Lawcracker. Young Lawcrackers, I will see you again soon.